Hello, Mrs. Neal's third grade class. This is Mrs. Felicia, and we are back with our Lesson 5 word attack list. You're just going to follow this red box that I have here, and then we're going to look at list 1. The first word in our list is shrilly. Shrilly means done with a high, piercing sound. For instance, our fire drill has a shrilly sound. Our next word on the list is dungeon. A dungeon is a dark prison. Dungeons are often underground and a little dreary looking. These are dungeons. Our third word is bolted. Bolted is a homograph. And homographs are words that look the same but have different meanings. If I can just click this. There we go. The same and different meanings. So bolted is an example of a homograph, and we can use 2 different sentences for that. So bolted, for instance, the horse bolted when it got spooked by a noise. That is one of the examples of a homograph. The other one is the store owner, oops, I have a spelling error there, bolted the door after she closed the store. So these are the 2 examples of homographs. So the first meaning of the word bolted in our first sentence would be the horse got spooked and ran away. It bolted away. And the second example would be the store owner bolted the door after she closed the store. So the store owner locked the door after she closed it. So these 2 words, they have the same, they're spelled the same, they look the same, but they have 2 different meanings. And the next word on our list is smirked. To smirk is to smile in an unfriendly way. That is smirked. And our next word is shriveled. Shriveled means shrunk and became dry and wrinkled. So if you've ever seen raisins, raisins are actually shriveled grapes. I have a picture here. So these raisins here, they are just grapes that are dried and shriveled. So this is what shriveled is. And for our next word is sputtered. Sputtered means made a series of bursts or sounds. If a car is having engine trouble, it might sputter. Or if a person is very nervous or afraid, they might also sputter when they speak. And moving on, the next word is pasha. Pasha is not a real word. We can know what it means without reading the story, but the way it's written makes it possible for us to guess one thing. It has a capital letter, which means it is a proper noun. And proper nouns are people's names, names of creatures. So we can guess that Pasha is the name of a person, a creature, or a place in the story because it's made up of word and starts with a capital letter. And the next word is thrust in our word attack. Thrust means shoved or pushed. That is thrust. The next word is spirals. Spirals are a series of repeating rings. If you guys remember in your art class, when we had class, Mrs. Gregory made you sort of, make these spirals. These are spirals. They're a series of repeating rings. And finally, our last word in list 1 is engulf. Engulf means surround completely. Engulf is also a synonym. Synonyms are words that have the same meaning. And an example of a synonym for engulf would be enclosed. So these 2 words have the same meaning. Engulfing and enclosing means to be surrounded or completely, to be surrounded completely. So For instance, the sandcastle was engulfed in water when the shore came. Okay, so moving on to list 2. There are 2 different things we need to talk about before we talk about the meanings of the words in this list. First, we're going to do verbs and past tense. So verbs tell about an action or a state of being. Cutting, swinging are all action verbs. Cutting, watching, watch, swinging, these are all things that you do, so they're all action verbs. And then moving on, there are also verbs called state of being verbs. State of being verbs have is, are, am, was, were, been, and been. These all make up what can be action verbs. So in list 2, these are actually action verbs. Grabbed, tripped, slammed, grinned, slipped, and shrugged. They're also past tense verbs. Past tense verbs usually have the suffix or the ending of the word ed, and if you look at list 2, all of these words have ed at the end. They also have root words or base words, and words that are used at the base make the words longer, for instance. So these would be regular past tense verbs. And verbs that are regular past tense are things that already happened. So things that have already happened, they're called regular past tense verbs. So looking at list 1, or I'm sorry, looking at list 2, excuse me. The first word is grabbed. Grabbed is the past tense verb of grab. Grabbed means took a hold quickly. I grabbed the pencil from the table. The next word is tripped. Tripped is the past tense verb of trip. Tripped means stumbled or fell over something. The next word in our list is slammed. Slammed is the past tense verb of slam. Slammed means close or hit with force. The next word is grinned. Grinned is a past tense verb of grin. Grinned means smiled. I grinned at Miss Neal when she came into the room. The next word is slipped. Slipped is the past tense verb of slip. Slipped means slid and stumbled or fell. Someone slipped on the ice outside. The last word is shrugged. Shrugged is the past tense verb of shrug. Shrug means raised your shoulders. It often means, I don't know when people shrug. It often means I don't know. So if you shrug your shoulders, you don't know. And moving over to list 3, all of the words in list 3 are irregular past tense verbs. They all have something in common. So past tense verbs tell about actions that have already happened. However, they do not end with the suffix ed like in list 2. So these 2 columns are past tense verbs. However, list 3 is irregular past tense verbs. They do not have the suffix ed. So looking at the first word in list 3, began. Oops. Began is the past tense of the verb begin. The past tense of the verb begin is not beginned. The past tense of the word begin is began. The next word is spoke. Spoke is the past tense verb of speak. The past tense verb of speak is not speaked. The past tense verb of speak is spoke. The next word is knew. Knew is the past tense of the verb know. The past tense of the verb know is not knowed. The past tense of the verb knew is, the past tense of the verb know is knew. The next word is found. Found is the past tense of the verb find. The past tense of the verb find is not finded. The past tense of the verb found is, the past tense of the verb find is found. I found a rock. Next, spun. Spun is the past tense of the verb spin. The past tense of the verb spin is not spinned, it is spun. The spider spun a web. Next, the word is snuck. Snuck is the past tense of the verb sneak. The past tense of the verb sneak is not sneaked, it is snuck. We snuck into the movie theater. Next, we have fell. Fell is the past tense of the verb fall. The past tense of the verb fall is not falled, it is fell. She fell into the well. Next, we have blew. Blew is the past tense of the verb blow. The past tense of the verb blow isn't blowed, it is blew. The hot air balloon blew in the wind. And finally, the last word is lit. Lit is the past tense of the verb light. The past tense of the verb light is not lighted, it is lit. She lit up the room with the light. And finally, we have our last list, list 4. And if you remember from Miss Neal's class, this is going to be very familiar. Kablam, wham, clonk, kirk, swoosh, blam, crunch, kawoom. These are all examples of onomatopoeias. Tony Abbott was writing this story. He made up a lot of words to describe the sounds made in the world he created. All of the words in this list tell us the sound made by something in the story. So onomatopoeias are words that actually sound like something. And all of the words in list 4 are examples of onomatopoeias because they are actual sounds made by things in the story. So the first word is klablam. Klablam. The second word is wham. The third word, clonk. Kirk. Swoosh. Blam. Crunch. And kawoom. And finally, in our vocabulary expression, blood turned to ice. This is an example of idioms. Idioms don't really mean what they say. So when you say blood turned to ice, it is an idiom because it doesn't mean their blood really turned to ice. It means that they were very frightened. So this is a great example of an idiom. And that is all for our word attack today. Hope to see you guys soon.